Welcome to Diary of an Ex-Ho. I'm Cheri Hardman. I'm your ex-ho, and today's guest is Danelle Porter. So sit back, enjoy the episode, and remember the old saying, always a bridesmaid when you're a hoe.
My name is Danelle Porter. I am from Portland, Oregon. I go by she, her. I am very, very single. And yeah,
Straight, bi.
I'm bisexual. I I don't know, the older I get, the more I'm just like, we'll just see what happens. I predominantly date men, but I am attracted to women and everything in between. It just varies on the connection and
Right.
they're right
That makes sense.
person sort of thing. Yeah.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. So the first thing we always do is we do a marry, shag, kill.
Okay.
But I don't know you that well, so I try to like orient it to the person. So I watched a few of your videos and stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, I heard you say you're Jewish, so we're gonna do Jewish version of Mary
Right.
Shag. All right, so hang on there, and I'll go get it. All right, you can see that?
Yeah.
All right. So you're gonna marry one, you're gonna shag one, you're gonna kill one, and here are your choices. We got Pete
Okay.
Davidson, James Maslow, and Timothy Chalamet.
So I'm probably gonna go with for Pete Davidson, I would shag. I would marry Timothy Chalamet, and I'm gonna kill James Maslow because I have no idea who that is.
I know I don't either, but I just found a list of Jewish celebrities and he was on there, but he's very
I mean,
handsome.
he's pretty cute. I would feel
Oh,
bad for murdering him. Like he looks like, he can handle a good Shabbos dinner. I don't know.
right.
But
Well,
I'm sure, is he like an actor or something?
yeah.
Did it say?
I think he's also in a boy band.
Oh, okay. He's a music. I mean,
He's
yeah,
an
I
actor,
think I could kill a
musician.
musician. That'd be fine. Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe if he got a little bit more famous, somebody would want to shag him, right?
Yeah, yeah. He needs to get Jonas Brothers level, and then we can talk.
Yeah. Um, all right. So I don't know if you've watched the show, but I'm just going to ask you a bunch of questions, and then at the very end, I'm going to have you just tell me a story about sex.
Sure.
It can be embarrassing, funny, charming, I don't care, just whatever.
Okay, great.
So, all right. So, when it comes to sex, would you rather watch or be watched?
Ooh, okay. When it comes to sex, I think I would rather watch. It feels very for me, it's very personal when I'm having sex because I have a lot of insecurity, and I think the idea of having somebody else watch me just feels like they're gonna be there with a clipboard critiquing me.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Now, I know you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you because I've been thinking about this a lot because I ask this every time. And like my sexual fantasies often involve like teaching a classroom of people how to have sex. And so they're watching. But in reality, no, nobody's going to see me naked again for the rest of my life except my husband. So, like
Yeah, I
in
mean,
fantasy,
I have the lights off. Like people are like, "Can we leave the lights on?" And I'm like, "What if we turn them off? Like, what if we're in the darkness? Like that's very hot to me if we cannot see each other's faces or bodies. That's, you know." Uh yeah, no, I think I've had friends who've like gone to like the sex clubs and stuff, and I'm just like every time I've ever had a comedy show where I've had to be in a sex club, I leave immediately because I'm just like, I don't know
yeah.
how to handle this situation. Like, I feel like I'm
Uh-huh.
gonna say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, and I'm just
Right.
not at that level where I can. It's interesting because like my older sister, she and her husband are like very open about their sex life, and they like go to sex clubs and everything, and like
Mm-hmm.
they're poly. It's Portland, so
Right.
they just but for me, it's just like I don't know if I don't know if that's just like the guilt inside of me or just like some repressed thing that I haven't dealt with yet, but I'm just like I'm at a level where I can have that see like
Well,
people.
right. And I mean, I don't think it might have something to do with some repression, but you could just also be a private person.
Well,
Like,
and it's interesting because I watched a lot of, like, sex as a kid, like, growing up, like, I learned about sex in the 3rd grade and, like, I was very fascinated by it, as I
mm,
think a lot of kids are, and then I also, like, watched Sex and the City at a young age, and then there's just I mean, like, the whole culture of, like, talking about sex has changed so much in my life that it's like there's so much about it and there's so much like there's so many TV shows that like are on Netflix and you just used to have like HBO where you'd see nudity and like it's just
right,
everywhere now and it's like very hot and like very like oh it's just out in the open.
right. Yeah, yeah. All right. So when you were growing up, what did your parents or whoever raised you call private parts?
We don't really I mean, I don't think we really talked about it that much, but I think they just used the anatomy of it. Like I think they said penis, vagina.
Hmm.
As I got older, I personally leaned away from saying it, and I would go with more of the, like, the slang terms, like dick and
Hmm.
snatch
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Mhm. Um, so were your parents together when you were younger?
Yeah, they were together, they they got divorced, like, right before the pandemic, so they were together for my whole childhood.
Okay.
My
Uh,
dad was a very private person about sex, but my mom was very open about it.
were they physically affectionate with each other?
Sometimes. It really did vary. I think they really hated each other, so I think it just
Oh, really?
depended on if they were
Oh,
like, "Maybe we should just fuck," like, "Get it over with,"
yeah.
sort of thing. So yeah,
Uh, do you think, okay. So do you think they were good role models in how a relationship should be or not?
absolutely not. No. They, have very much fucked me up relationship-wise. I've never had a serious relationship. I have deeply bad avoidant and anxious attachment, and I have terrible commitment issues. Like, as soon as somebody likes me, I go in the complete opposite direction. So
Really?
yeah, no, there have been so many situations in my like young life and my adult life where people have been very interested in me and like the second I've realized that they want to like engage and spend time with me, I am just like picking apart them to find something that I don't like and then I'm just like, well, I don't like this thing, so we should just end it. Like I once stopped dating a guy because he had the same sandals as my dad.
That's funny though. uh yeah. No, I mean I get that because my thing was I would just be mean to them until they would go away. You know.
I mean,
It wasn't really the same issue, but just yeah, a different way of handling it.
I also can be mean. I also just like I think I feel like it's healthy. I think that like a lot of people could, whatever people feel about boundaries and whatnot. But like I think when I see the first red flag, I just leave. Like I dated somebody who like we had a miscommunication about sex actually, and then he just like yelled at me and I was just like, I'm out, I'm done. And I like never talked to that man again.
Well, might have dodged a bullet, right?
I think I did. I think I did.
Okay. All right. So, um, you talked about like being exposed to like kind of sexual stuff at a young age, but I'm gonna ask like specifically like uh I'm gonna have you tell me about your sexual awakening. That's when you realized, wait a minute, there's something going on in this world that I didn't previously know, whether it was stuff you observed or just changes in your body or whatever. Can you kind of tell me about that?
Sure, yeah. I think it was basically like when I said when I learned about it in the 3rd grade, I became very obsessed with sex. Like I was infatuated by the concept of like love and dating at a very young age. And so I think it just kind of it just kind of built up in that way. So
specifically learn about it in third grade?
I had a friend whose older sister told her about it, and then she told me about it, and she was a year older than me, and we became very obsessed with it together, and I don't think I've ever told, really anybody about this, but we just would, like, essentially have the concept of house, but about, like, coupled relationships and, like, like, Barbies fucking and stuff like that, but then, like,
Mm-hmm.
it was more like we were acting it out with, like, teddy bears and stuff, and,
Mm-hmm.
like, we created, like, scenarios where we had, like, relationships with, like, Harry Potter characters and stuff like that, and it was kinda dark and twisted, honestly, I think,
Oh,
I think at that point, I didn't really understand sexuality in that way, so it was just, like, me and my friend just kind of learning together about
right.
sex in the just weirdest, probably more kinky ways now that I'm thinking. I, like, haven't really thought about this in a long time, but, like, there was some really kinky stuff that as an adult, I would be like, "Oh, how did you learn about this?"
Right. Right. Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, did you have any celebrity crushes when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I was a Nickelodeon kid. I had a lot of crushes on a lot of the Nickelodeon kids. I think I had a crush on, like, Megara from Hercules, and then, obviously, like, Rupert Grint from Harry Potter. I've always been obsessed with ginger, so I was, like, in love with him until the 4th movie when he had that terrible haircut. Um, I had, like, less celebrity crushes and more, like, people that I knew crushes. Like, I was very obsessed with, like, one of my mom's friend's sons who was, like, I think he was 16 and I was, like, 7, but I was in love with him, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "He's my boyfriend," and he, like, was very, like, sweet and was like, "We're just friends," but, like,
Right.
yeah, I'm trying to think of any other celebrities. Maybe, like, I guess Drake Bell, everybody, like, all the kids had a crush on him
Mm,
from Drake and Josh sort of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Feels different now, but yeah.
I know. It's like I think that that documentary that came out like really changed a lot of people's perceptions of their childhood.
I went down a like, it I went down a rabbit hole because I used television as an escape for a really long time as a child, and so, like, to see all of these people who created these shows for me to, like, forget what was going on in my life, and then to see that they also were going through such trauma was just, like,
Mm.
very triggering.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. I mean, I that was way after my time, but I really felt a lot of empathy watching that and just like, oh,
Mhm.
okay. So, you talked about like HBO and stuff like that, but this doesn't even have to be when you're a child. But can you
Mhm.
tell me like a mainstream movie that you have watched that you think like has like a really hot sex scene that you always kind of thought about or went back to?
Okay, I mean, I guess I'm not a super big movie person, I do more television, but I guess, like, there was, like, a bunch of rom-coms and, like, I think there's some, like, very steamy scenes in, like, Pride and Prejudice, with, Keira Knightley, that version. There were, like, some scenes where I was like, "Okay." Um, I mean, there's also, like, a lot of Keira Knightley, like, movies that had some very steamy, like, she was in the movie The Duchess, and I watched that in, like, the 10th grade, and it was, like, her, she married, like, this man who she didn't love, but, like, he was, like, a nobleman, and, like, the first time they have sex it's not steamy, but it is very interesting to see the intricacies of how that process went down in that kind of time period, and I always was just kinda like, "That's interesting that they would have it so cavalier," and then, like, you watch, like, stuff now and it's like they're just ripping off their clothes and, like, but it's like there's just slowly, like, it's also like that scene in The Notebook that I guess the scene in The Notebook is also where
Mm-hmm.
they're the first time they have sex where it's just, like, so detailed out about them both just taking one article of clothing off at a time and then just like two pumps and you're just like, what? And then it like his friend burst in, that sort of thing.
Uh, um, do you watch porn at all?
Not very often. I can't really get into it as I'm getting older. It's not as enjoyable. I watch more lesbian porn if I do watch it, and then it's just kind of like it. I think it's like the buildup is more interesting to me than the actual sex part because it's like so intense for the porn that I'm just like, I'm good. I'm done now. I don't need to keep going.
I know people keep telling me that there's porn that's like made for women, made by
Yeah.
women. I haven't watched any of it, but I've always been curious because some regular porn can be just gross, really. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's definitely concocted out of a man's head for a man sort
uh-huh.
of porn is like the stuff that's on Pornhub, it feels like. Taylor Tomlinson actually had a bit in her second special where she talked about how she just like Googled porn for women and it was like an SMR one. And it like, that sounds, it's like, she said like it's like 12, the first 12 minutes is him just calming her down after her car accident. And he's like, you want me to fuck you now? So I mean, like, I think it's just like, I prefer a good story, and the porn stories are just trash. I would rather it be like a built up relationship than watching them be like seeing their husband fucking another woman and then them getting mad and then them fucking each other. So
Right. Yeah.
it's not as enjoyable to me.
Mm.
There was a show that came out on Netflix last year. I think it's called Sex Slash Life, and it is more my it's like very, very porny feeling, but it is a good storyline, which
Mm-hmm.
is more my speed, I think.
Right. Okay. Uh, what would you consider to be amazing sex?
I mean, I think amazing sex is like whoever your partner is being like intuitive with you and like it's like you're in tandem with one another and so it's more they're like willing to learn and actually like make sure you're having a good time versus a lot of sex where it's like, oh, they get off and then they're like, well, bye. I I've had very few experiences where I've been like, that was amazing. And like I've said that's amazing to way too many partners when it wasn't.
Oh,
Um, I definitely think that like lesbian sex is in my experience has been better than most partners I've had with men. Like those experiences can be fun, but it's also like they don't pay attention in a way that some women do. Um, so I think I think it's one of those things where it's like don't uh, they don't know what you want and they don't want to ask you what
no.
you want, and so
Well, and they
it's
were
just
taught by
awkward.
porn. They were taught
Yeah,
by porn, and that's not what we want, you know.
yeah, for sure.
Those
Like I don't
orgasms are not real. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want my legs like you like I think that's part of it. It's like there's certain positions that like I'll be put into where I'm just like, this is not comfortable. If anything, you're hurting me and not in a good way.
Right.
Um there like I've had some experiences where they've been like doing a good job and then they fuck up somewhere and I'm just like, why did you just go back and then they don't and then it's just like, okay. Um, I do I have a real appreciation for non-American men because I feel like they have better education on sex. So I've had better experiences with men from like the UK than I have had with um men in America. But
That,
I
that makes sense.
education is important in my opinion.
All right. Well, now we're going to spin the wheel of dirty questions. So hang on. Let me go over and get it. I got to find my way out of here though. Um, all right. You ready?
Yeah.
Sex in a car, yes or no?
I've had a lot of car sex in my life, actually. As an adult at this point, I would say yes if it's the right size car, because I've
Right.
had sex in like a lot of PT Cruisers and like Honda Civics, and that's not fun. Like I've hit my head more times than I can count. Uh,
Mhm.
it's awkward. I once had sex in a PT Cruiser on a mountain, and the we were like it was like a pathway, and people kept driving by, so then we were ducking. So it's like if it's roomy and you can hide, I think I'm into it. But like if you're like camping and you're in a van or something, sure,
Right.
I'll have sex in a car. But I'm not doing it in a small car anymore.
How's your body image?
It's good. I'm like a slender fit. I used to have very big boobs, and they've just slowly gotten smaller because I was on like birth control for a really long time, and so like sometimes I like look down, I'm like, oh, you used to be different. But for the most part, like I have a nice body. I just I think I just have like, socialized anxiety about it and everything. And so
Right.
I have mixed feelings on it.
What's the best compliment you've ever received on your naked body?
A lot of men have said that they like my boobs. They usually just go like, "You have really nice tits." So I guess that probably, and I don't really think I have an ass, but I've been told that I have a nice ass. So there's those two, I
Do
guess.
you have any sexual regrets?
Oh, I don't know if we have enough time. I have so many. I've hooked up with a lot of men, and I've handled situations in a way that I wish I would have done differently. I think it's just like when you're younger, like because I have such mixed feelings with my family and everything. Like I just wanted to be loved in this way, and so I was willing to just like sleep with people who I thought would just give me attention. And so I think like some of the people that I slept with, I would definitely, absolutely 100% take back. Um, and,
Right.
sleep with some of the people who I would have preferred to sleep with.
Right. Have you ever slept with someone just to get them to go home?
um, I think I probably have. Yeah. I think there have been there's been a lot of situations where I've been like, I'm not sleeping with this person. I don't want to fuck this person. And then I fuck them. And then I'm like, well, at least they're leaving now.
Yeah. That's the best part when they leave. Oh, that's horrible. Okay. Um, is there anything left on your bucket list that you want to do that you haven't done yet? Your
Mm.
sexual bucket list.
A sexual bucket list. I don't even know if I really have a sexual. I feel like I'm very repressed in a lot of ways. So a lot of the things that people I think would want to do sexually, um, I have no interest in doing at this moment in time. For the most part, I mean like I think it would be nice to like try fucking in public in some way, but like I'm also totally afraid of getting caught, so I don't know how much of that I would be comfortable with actually do. I
Mhm.
mean, I freak out when I'm making out in an elevator and then somebody else gets in, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. All right. Uh, what's your host song? The song
My
that
host
lights
song.
up your host spirit when you hear it.
Um, hmm. I think it's I think it's just because I'm like I was very impressionable from a young age, but Meatloaf has a song called Paradise Dashboard Lights, and it's literally about two teenagers about to fuck. And so I think that when I hear that, I think about sex and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I love that song. What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is at making you laugh _ maybe.
Oh. Now this episode's going to come out the 22nd, I think. So do you have anything
Okay.
you want to promote in that time frame after that?
I just run a weekly comedy show with my co-host Erica Figueroa. It's called Comedy Darlings. It's every Monday in Portland at this bar called Bar Salou Cheri at 7:30, and we just put comics on, and then we do this fun little gag where we have people text in their complaints of the week, and then we pick somebody who is the comedy darling of the week because of their complaint. So
Oh, cool. Sounds like fun. All right.
you're
Well,
welcome.
now's the time when you just get to tell me a story, sex story, and I'll just listen.
Okay. There's so many. Well, so I got to go to London a couple years ago, and my goal in London was to, I don't know, fuck some British people. And I did accomplish that goal. I will spoil that. I did accomplish that goal. I was there for a week, and my second night there, I matched with a guy off of Bumble, and we went out and had drinks and everything, and then he took me back to his place, and we had not bad sex. Like, the sex was pretty good. It was just, you know, regular sex, I guess. And then I couldn't figure out how to leave the situation, um, because I wanted to go back to my hotel. Like, I didn't want to stay the night, but I didn't want to wake him when I left either. So I just like stayed in the bed and tried to figure out how to get out of the bed. My clothes were all over his like apartment, and I was like, I'm pretty sure my underwear is on his side of the room, but I have no way of knowing that, and I can't get up. So I just like kept staying there, and then like it was like I think like 8 in the morning, and we woke up and like we had sex again, and I was just like, I just was trying to leave, and like I had like I think it was one of those moments where you're just like, how do you leave and not care about the situation? Because like obviously this dude didn't care about me. He was just so excited that he got to fuck an American, and I was
Mhm.
excited to fuck a Brit, so it like worked out. But I'm just like stuck there, and then we fuck, and it was like that morning sober sex where you're just like, I this was not we're staying. Like, this is you could have gone. You could have left already. And I just remember like after we finished just laying there inside of him, and I was just like, how do you leave now? How do you like get out of the situation? And I'm just thinking, where is my underwear? Where is my shirt? Where are my jeans? And then he looks at me and he just like moves out of the way, and I'm finally like, okay, I can leave the situation. And I finally like I get dressed and I'm walking out to the place, and he's just like, all right, bye. And I was like, okay, so we're never gonna see each other again. And then he just like opens the door before like just like kicking me out. And I was like, you just let this man be inside of you. And I was so hungover, and I had to take the tube back trying to find coffee. I ended up almost throwing up in an Italian
Oh
cafe.
no.
And that was like that was like one of those moments where you're like, we should check in with ourselves more and not fuck
Right.
the first Brit that we see, because you're in England. Like it's not like you're in America where you're like you hear an accent. You're like, oh, that's the only option. Gotta go for that one. It's like
Right.
everywhere you turn, there was an accent.
Well, it like I could you tell the story though, and I can see it in my mind like it's a movie scene or something. So, just take it for
Yeah.
that.
It was, I mean, and like that was one of four guys that I fucked on that trip. Like I, it was, it was a very interesting experience because it was like I hated my hotel room, so I didn't actually want to be in my hotel room. So, and like this got a nice place. So I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll stay here and sleep. Like, you can't hear the person next door like snoring.
Right.
That sounds
Right.
nice. But then it was like, also like, I want to leave. I'm in this like other country that I've never been to. I'm by myself. How do you like, I think that's like part of it. It's like men are so good at just being like, okay, I'm done. I'm ready for you to get out of my face. But like
Uh,
women are taught to like bounce around it and be respectful about it. So like you're just stuck in that situation because you don't want to upset anybody.
yeah, you should just start keeping a note in your purse that says thanks with your phone number on it or something, and then have it all ready for the next time. you know.
That's actually a really great idea. I haven't had sex in a very long time though. I've been taking a break because the last time I had sex was very weird, and I was just like, we need to calm down and see if we actually want to have sex or like if we want an actual relationship. So,
I want to know why it was weird now.
well, it was like a Halloween party. I have this T-shirt. You know those bikini beach babe T-shirts that mostly men wear, I think. My step grandmother, she had this T-shirt, and when she died, I took it, and I thought it was like a very funny T-shirt, and I've worn it twice for different Halloweens. Both times I've worn it, I've gotten laid in it, and I think it's just because it's boobs and like a suggestive, like I found it so funny. Like the first time I hooked up with somebody wearing that T-shirt, like he took off the T-shirt and he was like, "Oh my God, there's more boobs under here," and I was just it's like the power of that T-shirt. Like if I want to get laid, I will wear that T-shirt. I was like a beach babe for the first time I wore it, and my friends told me I was not. I was just white trash. And then the second time I wear that T-shirt, I dressed up as it's so niche, like no one got what it was, but I thought it was so funny. I dressed up as Robin Scherbatsky from How I Met Your Mother, from the episode where like Lily and Marshall wanted to like just like elope, and so they went to Atlantic City, and she looked too nice, so Lily was like, you have to change, and she put on this beach babe T-shirt, and so and like then she had high heels on and like a leather skirt underneath,
Uh-huh.
and so that was my Halloween costume for this
Oh,
party. And then like I don't know if it was the mix of just like drinking and people just seeing the shirt or what, but I got a text from this dude and he just like was like, you want to come over? And then we had the worst sex.
uh,
And then it was like I hooked up with him, and then he was like, well, I'm gonna go to bed, and I was like, I guess I'm leaving now. So that was why I stopped fucking people.
yeah, there is a lot of bad sex out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I blame the public school system for lack of education in that way. I don't
Mhm.
know. I think it's just one of those things. If we educated kids and taught them the respects of sex and everything, then like
Right.
maybe it would not be so terrible for a
Right.
lot of
Well, and
people.
the other thing that I've been really like thinking a lot about lately, because I've been doing this Diary of an Ex-Ho, is the slut shaming that I get still. Like
Hmm.
it's gonna be 63 this month, and people are just still like, oh, like all offended because there's a picture of a woman with cleavage. I'm like,
Hmm.
women aren't free to be a sexual being without somebody being in judgment of them.
Yeah, Yeah,
And
for sure. I mean, it happened to me a lot in my because like I just wore what I wanted to wear as a kid, and like I like remember in like middle school like being told I was no longer allowed to wear tank tops because my shoulders were so seductive to the men, and like I got sent home for wearing shorts that like were too short, and so then I had to like I ruined a pair of shorts in middle school because the French teacher told me that it was too much thigh for the kids to see, and I like had been told by like people at school that my outfits like I just wanted to dress cute and but then like other people put sexual tones to what I was wearing, and it's like that sounds like a you problem, not a me problem.
right, right, yeah. All right, well, it's been a lot of fun. I'm glad that you made it, and I'll talk to you sometime soon.
Yeah, thanks for
All
having
right,
me. This was fun.
all right, bye-bye.
Bye.